Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to hike the Middle Fork Trail, the middle fork of the Lytle Creek here in the Cucamonga Wilderness, going through the sort of the middle of the Cucamonga Wilderness. It's a very underused, underrated trail. It's beautiful. At times it feels like you're almost like in Yosemite or something. Really, really beautiful. And we're going to do about 12 miles. We're going to go to a hidden waterfall, which is my favorite waterfall here in Southern California. And we're going to end up at Icehouse Saddle, where you could continue on to Ontario or Timber Mountain or whatever you want to do, or just go to the saddle and go back down, which I'll show you in this video. Now, getting to the trailhead can be rough. I'll talk about that. You do need a permit. I'll put all of that info in the guide on HikingGuy.com, so make sure you check that out before you go. There's a link to that right underneath the video, so check that out. And thank you to everyone who supports this channel or supported this channel over the years. I could not do this without you, so thank you for that. And if you like the video, if you could give me a little thumbs up, I appreciate it. And I also have a 360 video of this hike too, so I'll put a link to that under the video here, so check that out if you want to see this video in 360. All right, let me show you the trail. All right, so this is the parking area, and again, the road's a little bit rough getting here. I'll talk about that in the guide. But the trail is easily found here at the end of the parking lot. There's a big sign that has some rough distances over there to the different landmarks along the Middle Fork Trail. There's some interpretive displays that have seen better times, but it's nice. You can see how this was maybe a more popular trail back in the day, but still decent amount of stuff here at the beginning. And there's also a newer sign right here, which unfortunately these are already starting to get vandalized. Not too cool. But anywho, let's start hiking up the trail. Now we're going to start gradually climbing as we go up, gaining some altitude. There's Lytle Creek down there. Really beautiful views, pretty much this whole hike, even in the beginning, where the topography is definitely different than it is when we get closer to Icehouse Saddle, where there's more pines and all of that fun stuff. Now, towards the beginning, we're going to get to the split. If we go left, we go down to Stonehouse. It's the lower trail, but we're going to go right and go on the upper trail, which has some better views as we go along the upper part of the canyon here. You can see here, really beautiful trail. Maybe it looks a little bit narrower on video than it does in real life. It doesn't feel narrow when you're hiking along here, but it does feel beautiful, and you can see all the pines down there in the creek. Usually you can hear the creek sort of rushing down below you through the rapids and the rocks. Really, really beautiful area here. Now, after climbing a bit, we're going to have a little bit of a downhill, a little bit of a roller. As we go down to that little area where all those pines are, we're going to cross over a creek down there and then keep on going up this canyon here along the middle fork of Lytle Creek. Here we are. You can see there's these markers here, these pole markers, and the trail continues over on the left-hand side. So we're going to cross over and then go up the trail over there to the left. This creek bed is pretty massive. I've never been here when this is like rushing, but it looks like it rushes at some point. And in the winter, I'll talk about this in my guide, but this is a much different hike in the winter. It can be really snowy here and icy, and the trail gets pretty narrow at points, so you might want to think twice about it if you haven't done it in the summer. Here we are for the split where the lower trail rejoins. That's the lower trail from the Stonehouse Trail Camp. And again, there's a little sign there. And then we're going to continue along this ridge line. It gets a little bit narrow here as we enter the Cucamonga Wilderness proper. Now, anything past here, you need the free permit. And I'll put a link to the permit on the guide on Hiking Guy. But here we are in the heart of Cucamonga Wilderness. Another little stream crossing to go over. One of the campsites is called Third Stream Crossing. I guess this is technically the second stream crossing, depending on whether you took the upper or lower trail. Now, as we go past that stream crossing, I want you to look over to the left. You see that really narrow and sort of dramatic gorge? That's where the hidden waterfall is, the Third Crossing Falls, as it's informally known. Once we go by there, we're going to start going downhill a little bit through this grove of trees. And once we go through this grove of trees, there's an unmarked trail that we're going to be looking for on our right. And here we are at the trail. You can see the main trail continues straight over there. We're going to be coming back over here. we're going to look for this little trail down here to the left. And we're going to go down, we're going to cross over Lytle Creek, and this is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. There's, 3 or 4 different ways to cross the creek. Once you cross the creek right there, we're going to continue, and you'll be able to find the use trail. It's pretty well trodden. When I say hidden waterfall, a lot of people know about this, but it is easy to pass. It is not officially on the trail either, but you can see here we're going up into that narrow canyon that we saw earlier. And this is really beautiful from this point on up to the taller falls where we'll turn around. You can see there's some smaller little cascades and falls here as we go up, and we're just going to follow this up until we get to the big waterfall. Here you can see some of the little, I guess it's a fall cascade, I don't know, but we're going to climb up along the granite here. We're just going to keep climbing along. It's not a scramble in any sense, maybe in a very loose, tame sense, but you can see here we're just going to walk up along the granite up past the waterfall. There's another waterfall in front of us, and we're just going to keep on following this up. And it's like before, there's several different ways to do it. You'll figure it out. There's not a lot of places to go, but here we are up at the big falls. Somebody put a swing up, which is very cool. And there through the trees you can see the tall waterfall. I'm guessing it's around 30 feet or so. We're going to keep on heading up towards it. Once you get up here, you can see there's a nice crystal clear pool of water beneath it. You could definitely go in there. Probably, if you squatted, you could probably get up to your neck. But there's the hidden waterfall, really beautiful. Again, I think it's my favorite waterfall here in Southern California just because it's peaceful and not a lot of people around here. Once we're done at the falls, we're just going to head back to the main Middle Fork Trail. Here it is. We're going to make the left to continue along. And down there you can see Lytle Creek where we were earlier. We're going to continue along. We're going to pass. There's a little use trail up to the right. I'm not sure. I haven't explored up there. There might be some tent sites. We're getting close to Third Stream Crossing, which is an established trail camp just ahead here. But once we pass that, you're going to come down to Lytle Creek. This can be a little bit tricky. We're going to cross over the creek and then head back to the left. So when you cross over the creek, look for the trail up to the left. And that's what you're going to do. And once you do that, you're going to climb a little bit. Here we are at Third Stream Crossing Trail Camp. There are, I don't know, half a dozen little tent sites here. This is probably my favorite camping spot along this trail because you're right by the water. It's real easy to get water, real accessible. Here's a nice sign for it and a real calm place. I always see mule deer around here. Really nice. There's a rattlesnake. Look how the camo is and the shades and the leaves. It's amazing. I almost stepped on this guy. I didn't have headphones in or anything. I was just trucking along, but the camo is so good that, I'm glad I was looking down at the trail. And once we're past the trail camp and the rattlesnakes, we're just going to start climbing. And now this is where the work starts for the rest of the hike. The beginning was kind of rolling a little bit uphill, but now we're just going to be on pretty much all uphill until we get to Icehouse Saddle. Now we're going to gain this ridge after that first little climb. And this is the canyon that we're going to be following up all the way to Icehouse, and it's really beautiful. And in that notch straight ahead, that's roughly where Icehouse is. That's where we're going, up into that saddle. And this is one of those areas where it sort of reminds me of Yosemite with the pines and the steep granite. Really breathtaking from here on out. Now there are some sections that go into the shade here, the tree cover, and it's sort of a mix between tree cover and exposure on this hike, which is nice. Unless you're in the winter, then it'll get snowy and icy in here, and you can see how narrow it is. So again, be careful if you're coming here in the winter. And then here we are at Comanche Trail Camp, and you can see there's a few tent sites, a little bit less, I think, than Third Stream Crossing, but there's some sites scattered around like this, flat areas for the tent. We're right by the creek, which is over to the left there. It's a little bit tougher to get down to the creek. I'm sure there's some easier spots, but wherever I looked, it's always sort of poison oak and steep. But it is a nice little area here as we go up. And then once we're past the trail camp, we're going to start climbing again. Now overall, there are loose switchbacks and all the really tough climbs here. They're not real tight, real organized. They're just sort of follow the lay of the land, but it does make it a little bit easier as we go up. And off to the left, two peaks. The one on the left is Etiwanda. The one on the right is Cucamonga, which if you're doing this trail, you've probably bagged Cucamonga already. And I'm going to show you a point in a little bit that you probably will remember from Cucamonga. As we climb up, more switchbacks. You can see it's a lot looser. There's Icehouse right in front of us. We have maybe a half dozen switchbacks from here across some of these loose, I guess, scree fields, you would call it, as we go up. And this is steep. You might have to take your time as we go up, but eventually you're going to come up to Icehouse. And if you've done the Cucamonga Peak hike, you've passed this junction before, and there's a trail here for the Middle Fork Trail, that has all of the landmarks on it. And that Cucamonga Peak Trail is just off to the left there. So if you went off to the left, you could go up to Cucamonga, which you can certainly bag on this hike as well. And here we are at Icehouse, some people camping here, but if you wanted to do more, you could go up to Ontario or Timber and Telegraph. You could do a lot of other things, but otherwise just enjoy the saddle. And that's Icehouse Canyon straight ahead. There's the trail up to Timber, Telegraph. And this is the hike, and if you stick around, I'll show you what it looks like on a map. All right, so here is the hike. We're going from the parking area at the trailhead all the way up to Icehouse Saddle and back. There's a little detour over here to the hidden waterfall, and it's pretty much uphill all the way. Here's the road up to the trailhead, and I'll talk more about that in the guide. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not so okay. And we go down here. I mentioned in the beginning, it's kind of gradual, and if I go up like this, you can sort of see it's up a little bit. We're going to follow Lytle Creek. That lower trail is right down there, and it rejoins up here. Here's that stream crossing that was very rocky. If we zoom out a little bit, I don't have to zoom out. We come up here. Here is that hidden waterfall. That was the gorge that we saw in that really narrow gorge. We're going to veer off here, hit the waterfall, come on back. This is the third stream crossing camp. And then we have those series of switchbacks. This is where we saw the rattlesnake right after here. We're basically going to go up until we gain this ridge. This is that ridge that I mentioned, sort of looked like Yosemite looking up here. And then from here, we're following the ridge along. You can see it's not totally uphill. There are some flatter sections around here. As we go up, we get to Comanche. Past Comanche, the canyon looks a lot narrower, and you can see here, if I zoom out, you can see how steep it is as we go up to Icehouse Saddle, and there's all of these winding switchbacks. But then once we're up at Icehouse, this is the end of the hike. Down here is Icehouse Canyon, which you probably have hiked up if you did Cucamonga before. But then from here, you're just going to go back down the way you came up. But if you want, you could do the 3 T's right here. Timber, Telegraph, Thunder is over here. Here's Ontario, Bighorn, and then back over here is Cucamonga. There we go, right over here, over in this area. But anyway, here it is, Cucamonga, Etiwanda, got it. All right, anyway, guys, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I'll see you out there. Bye.